you would introduce the space and yourself and your role here.
Sure. It's Triple Cities Makerspace, Binghamton, New York. My name's Eric Leonard. I am one of the original founders and the current president.
All right. And how long has this space existed, and how many times have you moved, and can you tell us a little bit about the locations and processes of the past?
Sure. So we've been around for about 5 years. We've been in this space for about 2.5 to 3 years, probably 3 years this fall. Before that, we were in a rented space that we rented from a roller derby team. We actually had part of the locker rooms and the classroom. They rented the gymnasium in an abandoned school. So we had that. It was an okay space. We were there for about 8 months. And then it turns out that they didn't actually let their landlord know that they were subletting the space to us, and we promptly got kicked out, so we had to find a new space. And that new space was a storage unit for a while, and then we ended up getting space in a gallery for about 1.5 years. No, that's probably 2 years. 2 years. But that was cool for a while. We did a lot of upgrades and reno on that building. The problem with that was we were renting, and then there were major structural issues that the landlord didn't want to address, and part of the roof fell in on us. So we had to abandon ship on that, but luckily we were in the process of buying this building while that was happening, since the roof fall was a slow process. Bought this about 3 years ago, so we own the building. It's 3,000 square feet. We used to have 6,000, but it was 6,000 feet of wet and not particularly well heated space, so this is a lot more usable, if less space. This used to be a print shop, so we spent a lot of time cleaning it up. A lot of it was kind of rough around the edges. A lot of the walls didn't exist. The building's actually built into a bank, so there's like concrete wall or cinder block walls that are old and gross, but we built faux walls over that. We redid a lot of the electrical, installing networking and access control systems, plumbing, all that stuff. We're in the process of installing dust collection systems and more juice all over the building. So it's a work in progress, but it's where we are now.
All right. And what kind of membership setups do you have for this space? Is it a tiered system, hours of access?
Sure. So right now we only have one membership tier. It's $50 a month, and that's 24/7 unlimited access. Come and go as you please, full access to all the equipment and resources in the space. That's all we got. So.
And do you have like open access for the community to come in and meet with the makers or learn about the space? Do you have like an open house night or
Yep.
open hack nights?
Yep. So Tuesday nights are open nights, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Open for anybody to come in, do whatever they want, get help using any of the tools. So we do a lot of 3D printing and laser cutting on those nights. And then we have themed nights throughout the month. So we'll have a metal shop class where the public can come and do welding and machining. We have robotics nights. So yeah, we have quite a few open nights.
How do you guys handle the safety and learning to use tools aspect of the space?
Sure. So our learning process for tools is a little informal right now. As we get new members on board, we kind of get a feel for what they want to learn and then do one-on-one classes with them. If we get a bunch of people to join around the same time and we have a more in-depth tool, we'll do a deep dive on that tool as a group. Right now we are working on upgrading our access control system to actually allow specific access to specific tools based on training. So you would have to swipe your card on whatever tool you want to use, and it would check to see that you've actually done the in-house training and then let you use it. And that's mostly a reactionary step because we've had some people damage tooling that they probably shouldn't have been using to begin with because they didn't take the classes. So, but this access lockdown will only be for very expensive tools or dangerous tools. So like table saw, welder, stuff that you could catch something on fire or hurt yourself with if you don't know what you're doing.
All right. And if a member joins the space, do they immediately have access to some tools, or do they have to get cleared before they can use any of the tools in the space, even a chisel and a hand saw?
No. So hand tools, cordless tools, those are all free game. You can use those. 3D printers, that kind of stuff is all open access. Anything that you're not going to really hurt yourself on, you're more than welcome to use. Yeah.
All right. And do you do classes for members and community, or just for members?
We do classes for members and community. So we do welding classes quite frequently. We've done Arduino classes, 3D printing classes. Those are all open to the public. We typically offer a reduced rate for members as one of the perks. And then we've done some free classes. We did a free paper Arduino class, which is like an Arduino built on a piece of cardstock, but that was cool.
And how is your funding arranged in the space? How do you say you own the space? How do you guys manage your costs? Is it predominantly grants? Do you have paid employees? Where's some of that? What are some of the costs that you have to deal with, and some of the means that you generate the income to cover those costs?
Sure. So costs are mostly insurance, utilities, the mortgage on the building, and upgrades and repairs to the makerspace. So most of our money, well, pretty much all of our money comes through membership dues, and then we also get money from a billboard we own at the end of the property. So that pretty much covers our mortgage. And then everything else is done through membership dues. We have no paid staff. This is all volunteer run, people doing it after hours. Every single board member here has a day job. And then, no paid staff. Some grants. I think we've gotten 2 grants in the last 2.5 years, and those usually pay for big upgrades. So like our dust collection system and air filtration system, that was paid for through a grant. And then I'm trying to think, we had a grant a year or 2 ago, but I don't remember what that paid for off the top of my head. But most of it's either through members funding things. Like a lot of the board members just fund projects. So.
And does the space own all of its tools, or are some of them tools owned by members on loan to the space?
Most of the tools are tools that are on loan to the members from either board members or other members. We have some stuff that's been donated. We have very few items that were actually purchased by the space itself. That's one of the ways we keep our costs down, is donations.
All right. And so if, say, one of the members who has donated or shares a tool with the space were to leave, how do you guys handle the loss of that potential tool?
We haven't had that happen, luckily, but I mean, we'd have to backfill it somehow.
All right. And one of the things I like to ask spaces as I go around is, there are 2 things I usually ask. One of them is, what kinds of things are you interested in learning from other spaces as I travel?
Okay. So my biggest question would be, so in our organization we have a board, we have an executive committee of the board, we have general members, and there seems to be a very small core group of members that typically end up on the board that are the people that do everything. So you've got about a 10% ratio of people that actually do stuff. So those are the people that are, taking on big projects, running the wiring, unclogging the toilet, taking the garbage out, dealing with the press. That small core group is the group that does everything, and they tend to get burnt out because they're always expected to stand up and do everything. So how do you get your membership base to treat your makerspace more like a community organization where they feel empowered to make change and make progress, versus treating it like a gym membership that happen to have 3D printers?
And the other question that I ask a lot is one that was a response to my first question of what would you like to learn at other spaces, and it was, how do you guys deal with burnout? And so how do you guys deal with burnout?
So what we tend to do is obviously we have people come on the board and leave the board, and our board by and large is the people that do a lot of the moving and shaking. I'd say the 2 ways that we deal with burnout are for the inner core of people that are always doing, we tend to let other doers kind of like not give them any projects or anything to do for a few months and kind of let them go back to whatever they want to do, and then kind of start easing them back into doing projects. But I'd say for like the core group of 4, managing burnout's pretty easy. Burning out is an option you have. If you don't have an option to burn out, you just knuckle under and just keep doing. It's not healthy, and you don't get a lot of sleep, and you don't have a personal life. You basically go to work, and then you come here until you pass out, and then you go to work, and then you rinse and repeat, and you do that for as long as you can. But burnout is a luxury for those that have something else they can fall back to, and that's not something a lot of us have.
All right. And are there any things that you think are particularly unique and interesting about your space that you want to share with other makerspaces, or tips and advice you can offer other spaces or people looking to start a space?
People looking to start a space, you have to find another person that wants to start a space with you, and then find 2 more after that. And then the biggest hurdle is hitting critical mass, getting enough people where it's going from cult of personality to actual makerspace. And that is the biggest and scariest part of the entire process, is making that leap, because you're going to have a point where you're not incorporated yet, you're not a 501c3, you're just 4 people that are signing a lease on a building or a mortgage on a building, and you have that moment where it gets real and you're like, oh man. But that's one of the scariest but also like fondest moments of it, is you just have to go with it and just decide if you want to do it. I mean, that's the thing too, like if you're going to start a makerspace, by and large, if you're going to start a successful nonprofit one, you're not going to make money. Like, personally, no one here gets sweet piles of money. Like, it's not bitches and bling, unfortunately. But and you have to understand that there's going to be a lot of work. You're going to put a lot of hours in, and you're going to do a lot of stuff that you probably don't want to do, but someone's got to do it. So be ready for that. But that being said, it is an amazingly rewarding experience, and I definitely think it's something that anyone, try it. Start small. If you don't have the resources to do something big, any makerspace is better than no makerspace.